Hi, I am Ayush Patikar, Thinking Machines student. Today, I will demonstrate my project HR Management that I was built in the Java programming language. The objective of the project is to maintain the record of employees and their designations. Employees are added, update, delete, retrieve with their designation, and their record are stored in the MySQL database by using JDBC connectivity. This project consists of three-layer architecture, that is data layer, presentation layer, and the business layer. One very interesting feature that I have implemented in this, that is the PDF generator. That means we provide a button on which the user can click and generate the PDF of all the designations and all the employees in it. The project is carried out in the three phases. In first phase, all the data are stored in the file using file handling. In the second phase, all the data are stored in the MySQL database using the JDBC connectivity. And in the third phase, the project is turned into the network application. That means various clients can fetch the data or perform CRUD operation at the same time. Sounds very interesting. So let's get into the demonstration. So, first of all, we started with the phase 1 where all the data is coming from the file. So, where is the file? First, we need to locate that where is the file. First, we need to understand where is the file. So, I just remove everything from here. I just clear it. Now, first of all, in the PL section, we have a file called as designation data. So, we will open that first, designation data. So, if you see that in the designation data file, there are 24 entries: manager, psychologist, faculty, watchman. There are number 20. These number are code number, these are not the serial number. So actually there is only 24. There are 24 records. These are the numbers which is used to given the code to the every designation. The number is 32 because some of the entries are deleted from this while testing. So there is only total there is 24 number of designation are in this file, and this file data will be reflect on the UI. And run the command. First of all, let's build the folder using Gradle build. Let's run the command for the execution where the UI is visible, and you can see that all the data is coming from that file. There are 24 entries, I have already told you that, which contain accountant, animal doctor, car washer, computer instructor, cooker, driver, electrician, finance manager, etc. This data is coming from the data layer. How? Data layer from the file. How we can verify that it is coming from the data layer? Because at the class path we have given the class path of the data layer. That means all the data is coming from the data layer. So now deep dive into the phase 2. Data will be retrieved from the database. That means we have a database and all the changes, all the updation and deletion and retrieving from the database. So first, let I am introduced with the database. So I have a database known as HRDB. It consists of total 15 entries which contain accountant, carpenter, clerk, coder, faculty. There are 15 entries in which in the file we have 24 entries. So on the UI, now the 15 entries will be reflected on the UI. So first of all, Gradle build to compile everything. So it's compiling everything. So now run. So now this was the command, the class path command, in which there is a DL, so I will replace this DL. I flash dbdl dbdl dot jar. I need to replace that with the dbdl jar. That means now data is coming from the database, and runs. So now you can see that there are only 15 entries reflected on the UI. That means data is coming from the database. It consists of, I say there is a lawyer and React developer, racer, watchman, accountant, carpenter, clerk, coder. You can check in the database. The same entry are there in the database. Total 15 entries are there. We can run a command. There are total 15 entries. Now let's update React developer to the front end developer. Front end. So this should be updated in our database. So now it is reflected on the UI. Now since it is updated on the UI, now let's check it will update into our database or not. So for the database, I again go here and I just select all the elements from the database, and you can see that there is a in 34th code front-end developer, and that there is no React developer. Our database is updated. So this was the phase 2, in which all the data is coming from the database and the UI is reflected accordingly. First of all, we know that a client server architecture has a two part. First one is a client and second one is a server. In client side, we have a presentation layer. That means all the functionality related to the UI and user interact with the presentation layer. Second layer is the important layer, which is called as PL layer. It's a business layer that contain all the data structure maintained in the business layer. It acts as an intermediator layer. And the third layer is a data layer, in which all the basic logic building are done in the data layer. That means add, update, delete, PDF, search, all the logic are reside in the data layer. So these layers are communicate like this. Presentation layer will communicate with the business layer, and business layer will communicate with the data layer. And then if data layer need to communicate with the database, it will communicate with the database. But interestingly, we have created one more interesting layer, that is proxy BL. A proxy BL is an act as an interface between actual BL and the presentation layer. That means our presentation layer, our user is not directly send the request to the business layer at the server side. It will first send the request. It will first send the request to the proxy BL, which is reside in the client side. So after proxy BL receive the request, it will forward the request to the actual business layer, which contain all the data structure into it. Now this BL layer communicate or specify task to the data layer. Data layer need to communicate with database, and it will return something to the business layer. It will return response to the business layer. After that, business layer will respond to the proxy layer, and then proxy layer respond to the presentation layer. In this manner, our client server architecture flow will goes. That means we additionally added the proxy BL at the client side. So presentation layer and the business layer, that means the client and server is not directly connected to with each other. There is a proxy BL, there is a proxy server between them, which act as an interface. So presentation layer first communicate with the proxy BL to BL, actual BL to the data layer, in which all the functionality is defined, and it is connected to the database. We use same database MySQL in this project. So now let's come to the coding part. So for the third phase, at the right hand side we will run our server code, and at the left hand side we will run our client part. So at the server part, first of all you can see the directory HR server. So at this directory, first of all we need to build our project. We need to compile it. Will successfully compile. You can see that our code is compiled at the server side. Similarly, if we compile our code so let's compile our code at the client side. So we'll run the command gradle build, and our client part is also compiled successfully. So let's clear it, and again let's clear it. So now going to the module test cases and run this Java. This is the command in which all the paths are given. You can see that class path define is there, and which data is coming from the DBDL. That means database will be interact, and all data is coming from the database. And you can see that there is a BL, network server, network common, and all the jar files are basically on this path MySQL. That means database connectivity, and we'll run this code. You can see that server is ready and accept the request at the port 5500. Now our server is up and we need to send data from the client side. So at the client side we same write the command. I'll zoom it and you can see that there is in class path we have hr server. It doesn't require basically hr server, but it's okay. We have hr client, we have hr common, proxy bl. I will show you in the graphics that proxy bl is act as a interface at the client side. So proxy bl, and here is the dbdl. Here is the actual bl, and at the client side we have proxy bl. So proxy bl, MySQL, itext for the PDF generator, and enums for the certain validations. So now let's run this. So if you run this, I will do enter, and if you run this, our UI is coming. So before going to the UI part, you can see that at the server side, at the client side, private constructor of proxy designation manager invoked. That means a proxy constructor will first invoked, and you can say that header send 184 bit header will be sent to the server. At the server side, we can see that again header received at 184, and this line is, that means server is again ready to accept the request at 5504. That means server is not stopped, it is again ready to accept the request. Now you can see that how the communication between server and client is working, and the data is coming from the database. That means 14 designation, which is from the database. All the functionality will remain the same we saw in the demonstration. Everything will be same and everything. Now let's just, for the sake of confidence, we just print a PDF. So we just download a PDF. Let's say networking, I'll say that net. So at the net side we have a downloaded PDF, and open the PDF. So we can say that our client server architecture is also working, and you can see that this is our PDF, consists of 14 designation. So I think that's it for the third phase, and I hope you understand the demonstration and understand how our project is working from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. So in this way our project will work. I hope you understand, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching.